And here's my next step. Create an SOP. Did your social media intern use the wrong emoji again on the post? Did they make a post that's not in alignment with the tone of your brand? Yeah, they probably did. And I would bet this is probably because we are not documenting and writing out our processes and procedure when it comes to creating and distributing our digital media. Serial entrepreneur Cody Sanchez has a famous quote that says, "If I do something 3 times, document the process and create an SOP for it." An SOP is a standard operating procedure, and I have become obsessed with creating them for myself and my clients over the last 18 months. For the first 7 to 8 years of having my business, I did not have a single standard operating procedure. Everything was in my head or in the head of another superstar person that I had working with me. But this always created major issues when it was time to bring someone new onto the team or it was needed to delegate a certain task to a certain person. The same thing will happen to you if you're the PR director or the social media manager if you haven't created an SOP. Have you heard or said the phrase, "I'm the only one with the TikTok login," or "I'm the only one that can post to the Instagram account"? Maybe it's a security issue, or maybe it's because we haven't created a system and process on how to post correctly in the brand, and therefore we can't train someone to the level of trust that they can do it without us. And the processes and procedures I want us to create is not a brand guide with just our logos and fonts. We need to know the emojis we use for our brand on TikTok. What music genre do we select for stories on Instagram? And what is the method of picking those songs? Brand books and brand identity guides are great if we have them. We need them, right? But we have to take it a step further for our digital media creation and our social media distribution. We need to make it just for those. So how do we create these standard operating procedures? For me, the first thing I did when I wanted to write out my first SOP was to create a checklist of things I did on my way to making an IG story, for example. Did I use music? If so, what was the genre? Did I use text? If so, what was the font size and what was the text font, right? Then I used AI to help create an outline and bounce ideas back and forth based on other SOPs that already existed on the internet. From there, we filled in details, we used screenshots, we explained everything that was in our head and put it onto the SOP in a digestible format. Did it take a lot of time? Absolutely it did. Was it hard? Without a doubt, one of the hardest things I do in my business. But the only thing harder than that is to consistently wing it without a strategy and try to have good social and digital media content. And the next step is that we cannot get better at what we do not track. When it comes to making our social and digital media better, it's all about starting with creating our content. Next is creating a process so the content actually gets posted. And the third thing for me is strategizing and creating a plan for this posting. But I believe we can't get better at strategizing and planning our posting if we're not reviewing the data and strategically planning the next piece of content using the data that we just reviewed. So here are some of the things I like to do. Always ask myself and my clients, what's the field goal post? And I also ask, what would be considered a win from the content we're creating and distributing? This ensures that everyone is on the same page internally before ever hitting record on the camera or posting a piece of content. I feel like if we don't know the field goal post, which to me is the audience, the messaging, the angle that we're trying to approach with this content, if we don't know that, then we're spraying and praying with the content that we create, which is not the most cost effective or efficient. The second part is what's considered a win, right? What's considered a win from this content? I remember I had a client that owned a consumer electronic business, and when I asked him what was the win, he said he wanted to sell 1,000 units of the product off a social media post. And I was like, whoa, wait, let's talk about this win, because that's a big win. I'm not saying that you can't sell 1,000 units off of a piece of content. I'm not saying that's not possible. But now that I know what your win is, we can create content that's aligned with it, as opposed to I thought the win was just getting brand awareness. If I want to get just brand awareness and he wants to sell 1,000 units of a product, then we're not gonna make the same type of content, right? So we need to make sure we're both on the same page internally before we ever create or post the content. When we post organic content, we should actively take note of what outperformed the other posts on our page. Remember, your brand is what other people think it is, not what you think it is. So for me, on my personal brand page, Secrets of Silent Success, I was posting about both entrepreneurship and a little financial literacy. A few viral posts later, it appears that my audience enjoys when I talk more about financial literacy. That seems to give them more value, and they seem to like it more. So what should I do? I should create and share more content based on the information and the data I pulled from my audience. Platforms like YouTube will literally tell you, after you make a post that does well, hey, this post did well, you should make more of it, right? It benefits you, the platform, and your audience if you create content similar to the content of yours that does better organically. So track so we can get better at making content, posting content. Here's my next step, saving money on posting out because many features may not be available on them. There was a time when the only way you could pre-schedule or pre-plan any social media content was through a third-party app like Hootsuite. Well, now, to my knowledge, a majority of major platforms allow you to pre-schedule and even create a calendar within the program themselves. You have the Meta Business Suite, which is IG and Facebook. You can also schedule directly in the app or web browser for TikTok, IG, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Not to mention that certain features may not be available through those third-party apps. So all in all, you might be able to save a few bucks by simply posting in the apps themselves. Unlike a third-party app where you can schedule one piece of content that is then blasted across multiple platforms, no, you can't do that. However, if you're trying to save a few bucks, being able to directly schedule inside of LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook will save you a few bucks, and I think it's pretty effective because you get all of the platforms' abilities and features. As I mentioned earlier in the video, my personal brand, Secrets of Silent Success, talks about business and finance. Well, I see digital media kind of like finance. Each piece of content that we create is an investment. If a creative agency or a marketer say that they can make you go viral or get you thousands of followers in just a couple weeks, you should probably run. Just like I would run from a stockbroker that promised me 20% returns regardless of how the market was doing. Digital media, in my opinion, is about planting seeds, watching them grow, and learning how to plant better seeds for a better harvest in the next season. If you're needing assistance in creating an SOP or training your staff or just looking to improve your content creation and distribution, please reach out to us. We'll be happy to help.